hub for official hub for charting the life course. And again, we ask you to sign up on our website, frnohio.org, because you'll be notified of all of our presentations. We offer, I don't even know the exact number, probably close to 80 a year that are open to anyone. Plus, we develop personalized sessions when an organization or a group asks us. So if you sign up, you will be notified of all of the presentations that are available. And again, they are without cost. We also ask if you are a Facebook user that you like our Facebook page. Every Monday, we've got a story posted that shares how people in Ohio are using Charting the Life course. Families, people with lived experience, professionals, all across the lifespan and from several service systems. And again, we can provide all this information without cost because of grant funding from the Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities and the Department of Education and Workforce. So we appreciate you being here, being on time. Our team, Tracy is not on, but Erica Young is on. She can wave from Family Resource Network of Ohio. She is posting information in chat. If you didn't get the handouts, you can click on the link and get the handouts. And also myself and Celia Schlomer from the USAD, or the University Center for Excellence on Developmental Disabilities at Cincinnati. Just a very brief about me. Most of you have heard my story, but my passion about employment is because when I worked with the Cuyahoga County Board, I was able, as a speech pathologist and also as an SSA, to work with people in the employment setting, supporting the employee, the employer, and also their fellow coworkers to identify strategies, supports, and accommodations. During this 3-session Lunch with Life course, I have shared information and resources from Charting the Life course. On December 4th, I really emphasize the importance of talking about employment from early childhood on, and how important it is from early childhood on to provide experiences and opportunities to children to think about the world of work, and to also have a vision of work, and to support families to have that vision of work. Last Monday, I shared the Exploring Employment Portfolio, which is a way to start having that conversation with people, perhaps students, to start thinking about what does work mean for them? Why is it important? And oh, so sorry, everybody. Why is it important? What is their vision of work? And then how they can, who can help them get some experiences and opportunities. And today I'm going to share the Planning Employment Portfolio, which is a resource you can use when someone has definitely articulated, I want a job, and it helps you actually plan with them. All of these resources and tools are meant to support and empower professionals to do their work, students to think about employment and work, and families to also think about employment and work. A lot of families over the years have told me there's no way that my child can work. And until they we had that conversation, and with some, I showed them videos, I showed them examples of people working, and I can't tell you how many times families looked at me and said, well, why can't my son or daughter have a job? I see someone who looks just like them. They have the same type of disability and they're working. And I'm like, you're right, they are. So how can we help your son or daughter have some experiences and opportunities? There are 3 handouts. Of course, I always share the PowerPoint. Those of you that were on the call last week, I also included the employment guide last week and this week from Charting the Life course. Just gives you lots of suggestions for conversations and tools, and then the planning employment portfolio. So to review, some people talk about work, some people talk about employment. Work, the legal definition is all services performed. So it could be employment, it could be volunteering, it could be things that people do to help themselves. People can be self-employed, and people can also have their own business or a micro enterprise. The federal definition of work is services that are paid for. Employment means you are hired by an employer who pays you. And then the definition of workforce is anybody who's engaged in or available to work. There's a big push now. You see that the Ohio Department of Education is now known as the Department of Employment of Education and Workforce. Let me correct it. Department of Education and Workforce. So now they have a heightened emphasis on not just transition, talking about employment or work with 14 and above, but also before. And on the first session, we talked a lot about how we should be talking with students and young children about, and their families, about work, about employment, trying to identify their passions, their skills, their interests, with the outcome that students are moved towards successful future outcomes in competitive, integrated employment, education, and independent living. Of course, we need to remind everybody that work or employment does not mean 40 hours a week. And employment is not the end. Employment is a means to the end. And the end is that people have a life they value. Just like all of us work, not just to have a job, but to have our good life, to be able to pay for what we need and what we want, and to be able to have fun. So we also in the service system need to step back from getting a job and helping someone get a job is the end, to getting a job is the means to the end of having a good life. And of course, we talked about how our first job is probably not the one we have now. So last time we talked about exploring, what do people think about work? What are their ideas about work? Do they have an idea about what they want to do or a career? And this week, we're going to talk about planning. So helping people not just explore what it would mean, but identifying specific employment goals and steps to move towards those employment goals. We sent you, or we gave you the link to the planning employment portfolio. You'll see that it looks a little different than the exploring employment portfolio and just the typical Charting the Life course portfolio. There are 3 tools in the planning employment portfolio. The first tool is the one-page description. And as with all the portfolios, but the content areas are different than the other portfolios. So I'm going to go through the 3 sections individually, but the 3 sections are: what qualities do I have that would be appealing to an employer? What about me would an employer say, hey, that might be a good employee. I want to meet them. I want to talk to them. What kinds of jobs or work experience have you had? So you can say, yes, I've done this. And what help do I need to set a job or a career goal? So I had dinner last night with a relative, and he is finishing nursing school. And he said, I have an in-person interview um, at the Ohio State Hospital. I'm not quite sure which one. And as we were talking about what qualities he has. And, he's passionate about being a nurse. He loves working in ICUs. He loves working with emergency departments. What kind of jobs has he had? He's had lots of internships or placements. Oh gosh, I don't know what the right word is, but working in different settings in different hospitals so that he can say, I prefer working here versus I prefer working in emergency or ICU versus gen surge or maternity or pediatrics. So thinking about that, this is what we all do when we're looking for a job. We prepare for that interview and we look at these three areas. What do I bring? What would be appealing to an employer? What experiences have I had? And then what help will I need? So my relative, my nephew yesterday was talking about, he was kind of talking about how to prepare for this interview. So what help did he need he didn't need a whole lot of help, but I think just talking it through made him feel better. So thinking about what qualities do I have? What on the first lunch with LifeCourse, we talked about the importance of that social and spirituality domain, that a lot of people who are not successful in a job is because of their social skills. And so is the person friendly? Are they focused? Are they punctual? Are they helpful? What qualities will an employer say, yeah, I want to learn more about you? The orange section is, what kind of experience have I had or do I have now? Not only experiences in the work world or the education world, but even at home. What chores did you do? What did you help with? My nephew had older relatives, and that lived with them growing up. And so he learned at a very early age how to provide care and how to help people take their medication. And I truly believe that was what led him to nursing, but also the qualities that he has. He's very empathetic and he's very kind and he's very respectful. Even if people have dementia, he is very, very respectful. So what kind of experiences did people have growing up at home, in school? Did they have job trials, opportunities to go out? And what's interesting for my nephew is part of his interview he will be shadowing a nurse on that day that he goes to Columbus. So that's kind of cool. And then opportunities to volunteer. The third section is what help do I need to set a job career or career goal? What are the supports that work well and what does not? How do I learn best? Do I learn best by seeing, by watching, by listening, by writing things down, by reading? And then what helps me stay motivated? And as I'm going through these areas, think about you and your own job. What supports work well for you? How do you learn a new task? What helps you stay motivated? And there have been lots of studies about what motivates people. Some people need, little notes and little perks, and some people just need to be told, you did a great job. And then what's the best way to motivate? The second tool in the planning employment portfolio is the planning employment trajectory. And this trajectory looks very different from other trajectories. The main difference being that you see these steps. Usually it's just a straight line. But on this planning employment trajectory, the key word is planning. And so there are steps, because what we want people to do is start writing the steps that need to be taken, or the actions, so that as you write them, this is also a great way to review progress. How are we moving towards this vision? So the purple section is, what is my vision for a job or career? Both short term, thinking about short term, or long term. Think about in your own work life. Did you take a job in college and you said, I'm taking this short term because maybe the hours work? When I was in college, I commuted to Cleveland State. I also provided care to my brother, Nick. And so I had to schedule my classes around his school day and my work around his school day, because part of my role was to be home when his van dropped him off from school. So I planned all of my classes at 8, my first class was 8 o'clock in the morning, because my brother Jim made sure Nick got on the van to go to school. My job, since my mother worked full time, was to make sure I was home when Nick got home. So I took a job because I could work in the early afternoon and be home in time. But I knew that wasn't my long-term goal. Okay. So I had a short-term goal for work and a long-term. My long-term was I was going to be a speech language pathologist working with people with disabilities. But we also want to look at what's the person's vision for a good life. And then the other section in that purple area, the heading is, what are things that I have to apply for, or that I must have to apply for a job? Do I need a resume? Do I need to develop something as part of my portfolio to hand an employer? Are there things, and helping them think about, are there things about the type of job I want? Do I want to work inside, outside? As I said, for me, it was the schedule. I could start working a little before noon, but I had to be done by about 2. And so I found a job that fit those parameters. Dress code. I remember one mother who I took her to go see different jobs with her son. And she picked the work based on how the staff treated her and her son when she went to observe. And she said, this is a very dirty job, and I like my son to, look nice. And she turned to me and she said, can I buy him work pants and a uniform shirt so that he doesn't get his good clothes dirty? She shifted from, I don't want him to work in a dirty job, to, I like the way these people treated us. And so I'm okay with him working in a dirty job, but can he wear work clothes or a uniform type clothes? The red section on the bottom, on the right-hand side of this employment trajectory, is what I don't want. Okay. So what I didn't want was to have to work beyond 2 p.m. And what kind of jobs do I know I didn't want? And this is no judgment to any of you who had this job, but I knew I didn't want to work in a restaurant. Because I'm a klutz and I just could not see myself carrying more than one plate. So I knew it was like, that will not work for me. It's too busy and too fast, and I would be afraid of dropping. And then what would not make a good life? So we always want to keep in mind as we're looking at employment, what's the person's vision for a good life, as well as what's the person's vision for what they don't want in their life. If I think about when I was in college, my vision for a good life was that I was able to help take care of my brother Nick, because my mother was a single mother. And so obviously Jim and I, both took on extra responsibilities. But I also wanted to be able to go to college. And I also wanted to be able to earn some money because I had to pay for my college. And what a bad life, what I wanted to avoid was not being able to support Nick and take care of Nick, and also support, my mother and Jim and I and Nick. I mean, we had responsibilities to our family as a unit. So thinking about what they want, what they don't want. And then over on the far left, the blue section, what are the steps that I need to take to work towards this job that I want, or this career? And I always love when I hear somebody talking about a career and not just a job. So do I need to develop a resume? Do I need to have more experiences and maybe have some shadowing opportunities? And then in that little blue box, what are things that might make it hard to get the job or career I want? Maybe transportation might be an issue. Maybe the fact that there is no public transportation in some counties. Maybe the interest that the person has is not locally available. All sorts of possibilities. But again, this portfolio helps you have more in-depth conversations with people to really have some critical thinking about what is it that I want as far as employment, and help people do some problem solving. The third tool, as with all portfolios, is the STAR. And because we're planning in this portfolio, it is the planning employment portfolio, we're using a split STAR. In the center, in that white star, we would write what is their job or career goals. Maybe it's working in a restaurant. Maybe it's setting up their own business, setting up their own micro enterprise. And then each of the 5 areas is split into the now. So what supports do they have now? And which ones do they need to develop in the future? Again, anything that's written in the future section would be action steps. So we're helping people move to identifying action steps. And then you can review the action steps, and that becomes your progress report. So under personal strengths and assets, maybe somebody can drive, maybe somebody has practiced driving with the family, but doesn't have their license yet. So they've had experience driving, but what the future is getting a driver's license. For technology, what technology can they use? And again, don't forget all the different apps. So maybe somebody has a smartphone or has a tablet, but maybe they haven't used a lot of the apps that can help them with sequencing, with scheduling, with traveling, with uh, learning different jobs. And maybe the future is using some of those apps or programs. Relationships, thinking about people who have experience, knowledge about different jobs, and can provide them with experiences and opportunities. So if somebody wants to work in a bookstore, does anybody know anybody who owns a bookstore? Or I knew a woman who loves art. She loves to draw, she loves to paint. And so, trying to find where could she work, where she can use this interest and passion of hers. So is there a craft store in her neighborhood? Is there a Michael's? Is there some other kind of a boutique or store where that would be a plus, having that passion? Community resources, what's in their community? What's available? What supports might be out there for people who want to set up their own business. I know some people have gotten support from I can't remember the agency. Is it RSVP, retired? It's people who have been in business and are retired and help people set up their own business plan. And then eligibility specifics again would be, OOD, the Department of Developmental Disabilities, providers who provide supports. There is this integrated STAR in your employment guidebook that we sent to you, again, to help people as they're discovering their career goals to think about what kind of supports might I need. So if you have any questions, of course, I am willing to answer them. Just closing us out, we have our annual showcase coming up in Columbus. Please sign up. We have lots of presentations coming up in January. We have a community of practice in January, and I will stay on if you have questions. If you are ready to leave, when you click leave, a survey will pop up, and we appreciate you answering, giving us feedback about the session. Oh, thank you, Sylvia. Thank you. Association for Retired Persons. I was like, I know there's something out there that helps people. Thank you. To help them develop their own business plan. And it's a great, great resource. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Everybody, I hope you have a great holiday season. Have safe time off, and we'll see you next year. How bizarre to say that. Take care, everybody. Thanks. And let me see, is that a question? Oh, thank you, Marla. So good to see you too. You have a good break. Thank you, Monica. So good to see you all again. Thank you for joining us for the series. I know several